All right, what is up, traders? What's up, tycoons? Super excited for today's video. We're going to compare Bitcoin and gold and really take a look at both. A lot of people have said that Bitcoin is the new gold, so we're going to see how it really holds up to those standards. So make sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new, and we're going to jump straight into it by looking at the Bitcoin daily chart right now. Bitcoin has been on a massive rally since the beginning of the year. So you can see we broke this nice trend line here and we got a strong move to the upside, and we could be potentially looking at a three-wave move up to about 28,000 to 30,000 on Bitcoin if the bullishness continues. We really need to get above 25,000 and, stay above 25,000. That's going to be one of the first things. Now, if you take a look at your RSI, this is your relative strength index. Okay, it measures the relative strength of a token, of a stock, whatever it is. And we can see that we actually had some bearish divergence. So if you're not familiar with that, all right, what it is we have a high here, we have a higher high here, and we have a higher high here. So clearly, Bitcoin is in an uptrend, right? Going higher in price. But if you look, we have a high, and then we have a lower high, and then we have a lower high again. So this is a term known as bearish divergence. Once the RSI is making higher or lower highs while the price of the token itself is making higher highs, it indicates you could see some bearish activity, and we did get a decent drop as of recently in Bitcoin. Okay, now we're holding above our major retracement levels, so we have this very strong move to the upside. Any type of pullback, all right, is justified at these three levels. These are the 38.2, 50%, and 61.8% retracement levels. The reason you use these is nothing moves in a straight line down or in a straight line up. You get a move up, retracement, continuation higher, or a move down, retracement, continuation lower. That's how you spot trend continuation. So we're going to see if Bitcoin can continue this trend, and it still has the possibility of continuing the trend above 19,715. Okay, so it's going to be bearish below 19,715. Once we get below there, and we start to flip that from support to resistance, we could be coming back down to test some of our previous lows. So you definitely need to be cautious of that level on Bitcoin. Now, that's our daily chart for Bitcoin. Okay, we also have the MACD right here. All right, starting to curl back up. This red line is known as the exit and entry signal. All right, and we can see it's starting to just barely curl above that blue line right now. So if this continues in an upwards direction, that could mean that Bitcoin is going to continue in an upwards direction as well. We'll just have to wait and see what really happens. As far as this bearish divergence trend line, okay, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, you're going to look for a breakout, retest, and continuation up higher. Otherwise, this bearish divergence trend line could end up resulting in a pullback in Bitcoin each time we test that trend line. Now, let's look at GLD. Okay, this is the S&P 500 gold index. And this is what I trade whenever I'm, looking to trade gold rather than futures or anything like that. So just keep that in mind that this chart is GLD. So we initially had a cup and handle. Okay, gold has been looking really great and been doing really well since about November of 2022. So it started its rally a little bit before Bitcoin. Right now, you can see we also have our major retracement levels right here. For GLD, it's going to be 169.08. So we've had a stronger pullback in the price of gold and in ticker symbol GLD, but it's still above at 61.8. Now, just like Bitcoin, if we flip that to resistance from support, we're going to be bearish below there. But there's a lot of gaps up to fill. Okay, there's a gap up on GLD to 184.44. There's also a gap up to 177.80, that we created here recently. So, if you're not familiar with gaps on the daily charts, these fill about 90% of the time. So we do have a gap down to 152.10. And the big question with these gaps is not if they're going to fill, but rather when they're going to fill. So, when you're closer towards the gaps, you can kind of get a sense if price action is going to start being drawn towards them, and see, if the price is being drawn towards them. We're closer to these upwards gaps. So, we kind of are in favor towards possibly filling those. But as I mentioned, if we flip this level to resistance, there is a chance we could come back down and price could be drawn to the 152.10 gap. Now, there's no bearish divergence on GLD, and the MACD sign has not started to curl back up above like it's done on Bitcoin. Okay, but both of these, I like both of these, honestly. They've both been performing pretty well, over the past few months. They did get a little bit of a pullback in GLD, but Bitcoin has been, picking up the slack a lot where GLD has not. Now, what we're looking at here is Bitcoin versus gold in 2023 performance. Okay, so this is the very beginning of the year where the chart starts, and Bitcoin's up about 48%. Meanwhile, GLD is only up 0.12%. So clearly, Bitcoin has been outperforming to a large degree, especially against GLD. But this is what it looks like in a high inflation environment. So this is 2022 when we had that high inflation environment, and a lot of people speak about Bitcoin as, you know, the new hedge against inflation. So let's take a look, right? We have Bitcoin here in white, and look at its performance, guys. It was ugly, down 60.85% in this high inflation environment. Meanwhile, GLD was actually up 3.84%. So when it comes to, you know, these hedges against inflation, there used to be tons of ads, even like paid ads that I would get before I could watch a video or something, saying how Bitcoin, the new hedge against inflation, the hedge against inflation. And so I think that that's definitely a rumor that's been proven false. All right. And gold has definitely performed as a much better hedge against inflation. You know, if you compare gold even to the stock market in the 2022 high inflation environment, it definitely outperformed the stock market as well. So next chart, okay, we're looking at Bitcoin divided by gold. All right, that's what this chart is. And you can see that Bitcoin has definitely outperformed gold in the long run, okay, since, you know, Bitcoin's inception, really. That's what this chart is, okay? So, you know, it's Bitcoin divided by gold. So when you see this going up, that means Bitcoin is outperforming gold. And when you see this going down, that means gold is outperforming Bitcoin. That's how you read these type of charts. Okay, as you can see, it's BTC divided by GLD. All right, but yeah, so I mean, Bitcoin definitely in the long run has the potential to be a greater investment. Now, it does go through some very rough periods, but when it starts rallying and, you know, going in a bull market phase, it really does explode. Now, just because it's done that in the past doesn't mean it has to do that again. You always have to keep that in mind. And of course, this video is never going to be financial advice. You know, nobody's on YouTube out here giving financial advice. These are just free videos. Okay. Now, the next chart, you know, what we're doing is we're looking at the 2019 summer rally, okay, through the COVID crash of 2020. All right, this right here is the COVID crash on both of those. You can see it affected the price of both of those. But there does seem to be a correlation to performance. So, you know, when Bitcoin in white right here is going down, you see GLD going up. So it's something that's interesting, that, you know, some people may be looking at taking a trade in, or maybe if you're looking to hedge one of your positions, you could potentially take a position in gold or Bitcoin as a hedge against it, right? So let's say you're long gold and you're wondering, okay, well, if gold starts to pull back, what kind of hedge can I have? Well, maybe you could have a hedge in Bitcoin, because that's what our next chart is going to show, right? When gold is starting to go down, and this is the summer of 2020 through the Q1 of 2021. All right, and we can see that at that time period, okay, you know, Bitcoin was rallying massive, going up very big. And look at what GLD was doing. GLD was going down. So, you know, there is the potential of a little bit of an inverse relationship between the two. But, you know, it's not going to correlate exactly and like perfectly. Okay, when you think about you know, the volatility in Bitcoin, it's way more volatile than gold and GLD. So, you know, you have to take that into account as well, right? If Bitcoin starts dropping, that doesn't mean that GLD is going to go up 100, 200%. It just means that, you know, there has been a little bit of correlation with Bitcoin dropping and GLD going up, and then there's been correlation with GLD dropping and Bitcoin going up. Now this is 2022 through the present, and we can see again, you know, really just this correlation. So, you know, when Bitcoin is going down here, all right, well, actually what we did was we kind of broke this correlation that I had in the previous charts. So that's what I wanted to highlight, actually. Okay, so here we're seeing, okay, that GLD and Bitcoin were both going down. And then we see this flat line, this really flat phase in Bitcoin, and a lot of altcoins during this period, you know, they were really not performing well and they were still going down, but Bitcoin itself remained pretty much flat for, you know, a good month or two. And that's when you really started to see GLD go up. And as GLD is going down, we're starting to see some of that correlation here again in between, Bitcoin and GLD. So it'll be really interesting to see, like, is the correlation going to still happen, right? If Bitcoin starts to fall, does that mean GLD is going to go back up again? Or if Bitcoin continues to rally, is GLD going to continue to drop? These are some of the questions that you might want to ask yourself when you're looking to, invest in some of these, especially if you're trying to, kind of bet against something, right? If you think Bitcoin's going to go down and you're investing in GLD, this right here has been pretty important. Remember, and this is that high inflation environment, okay, 2022, guys, where we're seeing GLD and Bitcoin both going down. There has been many times in the past where there's been an inverse correlation, right? And that's what a couple of these examples were, where, gold going up, Bitcoin going down. Here we see GLD going down, Bitcoin going up. But I did want to highlight here that, there has been times where they've both gone down, and there's definitely the possibility that that could happen in the future again as well. So that's going to be it for today's video. This was a viewer request, so if you guys want to see, a video on whatever topic you guys think is worthy of a video, all you got to do is comment down below. Okay, I do crypto, I do commodities, I do bonds, I do stocks, I do tutorials, everything. So I'll be happy to make a video on it for you guys as soon as I can. Just leave a comment down below, and that's all you got to do.